The sun was setting over Cathara when Teho heard the explosion. He had been sitting on his porch, drinking tea, and watching the purple clouds roll across the sky. The old veteran liked quiet evenings. After 30 years of war, he had earned them. But the sound of a ship crashing was something he could never ignore. Teho grabbed his medical bag. Old habits never died. He had been a combat medic for most of his life. And even now, 5 years after retirement, he kept his supplies ready. His bones ached as he ran toward the smoke rising from the eastern valley. The frontier world of Cathara was shared territory. Humans lived on one side. The Velthari lived on the other. They were wolf-like beings, tall and proud, covered in silver and black fur. They walked on 2 legs like humans, but their faces were those of wolves. Sharp teeth, golden eyes, pointed ears that could hear a heartbeat from 100 meters away. The 2 species did not trust each other. There had been wars, there had been peace treaties. Now there was only careful silence. Teho found the crashed ship at the bottom of the valley. It was a small transport vessel, clearly Velthari in design. The hull was torn open. Smoke poured from the engines. He could smell burning metal and something else. Blood. He climbed through the wreckage carefully. His old knees complained, but he ignored them. Inside the main cabin, he found 2 bodies. Velthari warriors. Both dead. Their silver armor was crushed. They had died on impact. Then he heard a small sound. A whimper. Teho moved deeper into the wreckage. Behind a pile of broken crates, he found her. A young Velthari pup. No more than 8 or 9 years old by human standards. Her fur was pure white, rare among her kind. She wore a small golden collar around her neck, marked with symbols he did not recognize. The pup was dying. A piece of metal had pierced her side. Blood soaked her white fur, turning it dark red. Her golden eyes were half closed, and her breathing was shallow. She looked up at Teho with fear and confusion. "Easy now," Teho said softly. He knelt beside her and opened his medical bag. "I am not going to hurt you." The pup tried to growl, but she was too weak. Her small claws scratched against the floor as she tried to crawl away. Teho worked quickly. He removed the metal shard and stopped the bleeding. He cleaned the wound and applied bandages. But as he worked, he realized the truth. The pup had lost too much blood. Her body was shutting down. Without a transfusion, she would die within the hour. He checked his medical scanner. The device analyzed her blood type and searched for matches in the local database. No Velthari donors available. The nearest Velthari settlement was 3 hours away. She did not have 3 hours. Then the scanner showed something strange. A partial match. Human blood type. O negative. His blood type. Teho stared at the screen. The idea was insane. Human blood in a Velthari body. It had never been done. The 2 species were biologically different. The transfusion could kill her, but without it, she would definitely die. He looked at the pup. She was so small, so fragile. Her white fur reminded him of snow. Her golden eyes, now barely open, looked at him with something like hope. Teho made his decision. He found a clean tube in his bag and prepared the transfusion equipment. His hands were steady. They always were in moments like this. He inserted the needle into his own arm first, then carefully connected the tube to the pup's vein. "This might feel strange," he told her, "but stay with me." The blood began to flow. Red human blood, carrying oxygen and life, moved from his body into hers. Teho watched the pup's face carefully. Her breathing was still weak. Her heartbeat was faint. Minutes passed. Teho began to feel dizzy from the blood loss. But he did not stop. He could not stop. This child deserved a chance to live. Then something happened. The pup's eyes opened wide. Her ears stood straight up. A soft glow seemed to pass through her white fur, like moonlight moving under her skin. She took a deep breath. Then another. Her heartbeat grew stronger. The transfusion was working. Taeho continued until he had given as much blood as he safely could. Then he disconnected the tube and bandaged both their arms. The pup was staring at him now, her golden eyes clear and bright. "Who are you?" she asked, in broken human language. "My name is Taeho," he replied. "I am a medic. I found your ship." "The guards," she whispered. "Are they? I am sorry. They did not survive." The pup closed her eyes. A single tear rolled down her furry cheek. But she was alive. That was what mattered. Taeho picked her up carefully and carried her out of the wreckage. She was light in his arms, like carrying a child. He brought her to his home, a small cabin at the edge of human territory. He laid her on his bed and covered her with warm blankets. "Rest now," he said. "You are safe." The pup reached out and grabbed his hand with her small clawed fingers. "Thank you," she whispered. "Thank you, human." Then she fell asleep. Taeho sat in his chair and watched her sleep. He did not know her name. He did not know why she was traveling with only 2 guards. He did not know what the golden collar meant, but he had a feeling his quiet life was about to change. 3 hours later, he heard the sound of ships landing outside his cabin. Not one ship. Many ships. He looked through his window and saw Velthari warriors pouring out of transports, their armor gleaming in the moonlight. There were at least 50 of them. At their head stood a female Velthari of incredible presence. She was tall, taller than any Velthari he had ever seen. Her fur was silver with streaks of black. Her eyes burned like golden fire. She wore armor made of black metal and carried a sword at her hip. Taeho knew who she was. Everyone in the galaxy knew. Queen Valeth of the Velthari. Ruler of 12 worlds. Commander of the greatest wolf pack in known space. And she was walking toward his door. The pup in his bed was not just any child. She was the queen's daughter, Princess Rena. Taeho took a deep breath and opened his door. The queen stood before him, surrounded by her warriors. Her golden eyes looked at him with an expression he could not read. Was it anger? Was it grief? Was it something else entirely? "Human," she said, her voice deep and commanding. "Where is my daughter?" "She is inside," Taeho replied calmly. "She is alive. I saved her." The queen pushed past him and entered the cabin. She found Rena sleeping peacefully on the bed. For a moment, her fierce expression softened. She knelt beside her daughter and touched her white fur gently. Then she noticed the bandage on Rena's arm. She leaned closer and sniffed. Her eyes went wide. She turned to Taeho with a look of shock and fury. "What have you done?" Taeho met her gaze without fear. "I gave her my blood. It was the only way to save her." The queen stood slowly. Her warriors raised their weapons. "Do you have any idea," she said quietly, "what you have just done to my daughter? To my bloodline? To my entire pack?" Taeho did not answer. He did not know, but he was about to find out. Queen Valeth stood in the middle of Taeho's small cabin, her golden eyes burning with emotions he could not understand. Her warriors filled the room, their weapons pointed at him. The air was thick with tension. "Explain yourself, human," the queen demanded. "Explain why my daughter carries your scent in her blood." Taeho remained calm. He had faced death many times during the war. He was not afraid now. Her ship crashed in the valley. She was dying. She had lost too much blood. There were no Velthari donors nearby. My blood was a partial match. I made a choice. "A choice?" The queen's voice rose with anger. "You made a choice to contaminate royal blood? To mix your human essence with the bloodline of my ancestors?" "I made a choice to save a child's life." The room fell silent. The warriors looked at each other, uncertain. No one had ever spoken to the queen like this. Queen Valeth stepped closer to Taeho. She was taller than him by half a head. Her silver fur seemed to glow in the dim light. "Do you know who my daughter is? She is the heir to 12 worlds. Her blood is sacred. It carries the memories of 1,000 generations, and you have polluted it with your alien blood. She would be dead without my alien blood." The queen raised her hand as if to strike him, but she stopped. Her golden eyes searched his face, looking for something. Fear? Guilt? She found neither. Mother? The small voice came from the bed. Princess Rena was awake. She sat up slowly, her white fur still stained with dried blood. Her golden eyes moved from her mother to Tae-ho and back again. Rena. The queen rushed to her daughter's side. How do you feel? Are you in pain? I feel strange, Rena said. Different. But not bad. She looked at Tae-ho. He saved me, mother. I was dying, and he gave me his life force. His blood, the queen corrected. He gave you his blood. Yes, and now I can feel him. Rena touched her chest with her small hand. Here, inside me, like a warm light. The queen's expression changed. The anger faded, replaced by something like fear. She stood and turned to her warriors. Leave us. All of you. Now, the warriors hesitated. I said leave. They filed out quickly, leaving only the queen, Rena, and Tae-ho in the cabin. Valeth walked to the window and stared out at the night sky. Her shoulders were tense. Do you know about our bond laws, human? She asked without turning around. No, Tae-ho admitted. I know very little about Velthari customs. The queen laughed bitterly. Then let me educate you. Among my people, blood is sacred. It carries our essence, our memories, our connection to the pack. When a Velthari shares blood with another, they create a bond, a permanent connection that cannot be broken. Tae-ho began to understand. You mean, yes. The queen turned to face him. By giving your blood to my daughter, you have created a bond with her. She will carry your essence for the rest of her life. She will feel your emotions. She will sense your presence. In the eyes of our law, you are now part of her family. Tae-ho looked at Rena. The young princess was watching him with wide eyes. I did not know, he said quietly. Ignorance does not change the law. The queen walked to the center of the room. There is more. The bond you created is not a normal bond. Rena is royal blood. Her bonds have special meaning. When a royal bonds with someone, that person gains status within the pack. What kind of status? The queen's jaw tightened. You are now connected to the heir of 12 worlds. By our ancient laws, you have the rights of a guardian, a protector. In our language, we call this position monarch. Tae-ho did not understand. Monarch? Like a king? No. Different. The queen searched for the right words. A monarch is not a ruler. A monarch is someone who stands beside the ruler. A trusted guardian. A second father, or mother, someone who would die to protect the royal child. I see. Do you? The queen stepped closer to him. Do you understand what this means? My warriors, my advisors, my entire pack, they will never accept this. A human as monarch to the princess? It is unthinkable. There will be challenges. There will be demands for your death. Tae-ho met her gaze steadily. Then let them come. The queen blinked. She had expected fear. She had expected begging. Instead, this old human soldier stood before her, without any sign of weakness. You are either very brave or very foolish, she said. I have been called both. A small laugh escaped the queen's lips. It surprised her as much as anyone. She covered her mouth quickly and turned away. Mother, Rena said from the bed, I do not want him to die. He saved me. He was kind to me when I was afraid. The queen's expression softened when she looked at her daughter. I know, little one. I know. Can we not protect him? Can we not make the pack accept him? Valeth was silent for a long moment. Then she spoke carefully. There is one way. Our law allows a challenge. If someone's right to a position is questioned, they can prove their worth through the trials. 3 tests of strength, wisdom, and sacrifice. If the human passes the trials, no one can question his position as monarch. Tae-ho considered this. And if I fail, then you die. The trials are not gentle. Human. Many Velthari have died, attempting them. But if I refuse the trials? If I simply walk away? The queen shook her head. You cannot walk away. The bond exists. If you abandon Rena, she will feel it. The loss will hurt her. Perhaps damage her mind. And my warriors will hunt you down regardless. Your only choices are the trials or immediate execution. Teho looked at Rena again. The young princess had curled up on the bed, her white fur making her look like a small cloud. She was watching him with hope in her golden eyes. He had spent his life saving others. He had watched friends die on battlefields across the galaxy. He had seen the worst of war and the best of humanity. And now, at the end of his days, he was being asked to risk his life for a child he had just met. But that was who he was. That was who he had always been. I will face the trials, he said. The queen studied him for a long moment. You understand that you will probably die? I have lived a long life. If I die protecting a child, it will be a good death. Something changed in the queen's eyes. The hostility faded slightly, replaced by something that might have been respect. Very well, she said. We will return to my homeworld. The trials will be held before the entire pack. You will have 3 days to prepare. She walked to the door, then stopped. Without turning around, she spoke one more time. Human, Teho. My daughter would be dead if not for you. I do not forget such things. Whatever happens in the trials, know that I am grateful. I'm on a toxis. I'm on a toxis. I'm on a toxis. I'm on a toxis. Then she was gone. Rena climbed off the bed and walked to Teho. She barely reached his waist. She looked up at him with her golden eyes and smiled. Thank you, she said, for saving me and for staying. Teho knelt down to her level. I made a promise to protect you. I do not break my promises. The young princess hugged him. Her fur was soft against his skin. He could feel her heart beating against his chest. I can feel you, she whispered. Inside me, you feel warm, like sunlight. Teho did not know what to say, so he simply held her and let her feel safe. Outside the window, the Velthari ships waited. Tomorrow, they would leave for the Queen's homeworld. Tomorrow, the real challenges would begin. But tonight, a human veteran and a wolf princess had found something rare in the galaxy. They had found each other. The throne world of the Velthari was called Thornval. It was a cold planet covered in endless forests and snow-capped mountains. The sky was always gray, and 3 moons hung low on the horizon. Teho had never seen anything so beautiful or so dangerous. The Queen's palace stood at the center of the capital city. It was built from black stone and silver metal, rising like a frozen wave against the sky. Thousands of Velthari walked the streets below, their fur keeping them warm in the bitter cold. They stopped and stared as the royal ship descended. Word had already spread. A human had bonded with the princess. A human was claiming the title of Monarch. Teho could feel their eyes on him as he walked down the ship's ramp. Some looked curious. Most looked hostile. A few looked ready to kill. Stay close to me, Queen Valeth said quietly. My warriors will protect you until the trials begin. And after the trials? That depends on whether you survive them. They entered the palace through massive doors carved with images of wolves hunting across starry skies. Inside, the halls were vast and cold. Torches burned along the walls, casting dancing shadows. Velthari nobles watched from the corners, whispering among themselves. Rena walked beside Teho, her small hand gripping his sleeve. Velthari nobles watched from the corners, whispering among themselves. Rena walked beside Teho, her small hand gripping his sleeve. She had not left his side since they boarded the ship. The bond between them was growing stronger. He could feel her emotions now, her fear, her hope, her fierce determination to keep him safe. The Pack Lords are waiting, the Queen announced. They have demanded an audience. She led them to the Great Hall. It was an enormous room with a ceiling so high it disappeared into darkness. At the far end stood a throne made of bones and silver. Around the room, dozens of Velthari nobles sat in raised seats, looking down at the floor below. And on that floor, 7 Velthari lords stood waiting. They were the most powerful nobles in the empire, second only to the queen herself. Each one ruled multiple star systems. Each one commanded armies of warriors, and each one looked at Teho with murder in their golden eyes. Queen Valeth, the largest of the lords, said. His name was Korath, and his fur was black as midnight. We have gathered to discuss this situation. There is nothing to discuss, the queen replied. She took her seat on the throne, while Rena stood at her side. Teho remained on the floor, surrounded by hostile lords. The humans saved my daughter's life. A bond was formed. The law is clear. The law was written for our kind, another lord said. This one was female, with gray fur and scars across her face. Her name was Yelvain. It was never meant for aliens. For humans. The law does not specify species, the queen said firmly. Then perhaps the law needs to change. Korath stepped forward. Your Majesty, we cannot allow this. A human as monarch to the heir? It is an insult to our entire civilization. Our ancestors would weep to see such shame. Murmurs of agreement rippled through the crowd. What would you have me do? The queen asked. Kill the man who saved my daughter? Break a sacred bond? Yes, Korath said simply. Execute the human. Purify the princess's blood through ritual. Restore our honor. Teho felt Rena's grip tighten on his sleeve. He looked down and saw tears forming in her golden eyes. No, the queen said. I will not do that. Then you leave us no choice. Korath turned to face the assembled nobles. I hereby challenge the human's right to the title of monarch. By ancient law, I demand he face the trials of worth. Let him prove he deserves a place among us or die trying. More murmurs, more nods of agreement. The human has already agreed to face the trials, the queen said. Korath smiled, showing his fangs. Excellent. Then let them begin. Immediately. He was promised 3 days to prepare. 3 days? Korath laughed. Your Majesty, surely you are joking. The longer we wait, the more this insult spreads. Every day this human walks free. Our enemies laugh at us. No, the trials begin tomorrow at sunrise. The queen's golden eyes blazed with anger. You go too far, Korath. I go exactly far enough. The black-furred lord stepped closer to the throne. Your daughter's accident was unfortunate. But we all know the truth. You have been weak, Valeth. You allowed humans to settle on our border worlds. You signed peace treaties instead of conquering. And now, a human claims a place in our royal family. He turned to address the crowd. Is this the future we want? Is this the empire our children will inherit? Silence fell over the great hall. The queen sat very still on her throne. Teho could see her claws digging into the armrests. She was controlling her rage with great effort. Very well, she said at last. The trials will begin at sunrise tomorrow. But Korath, hear me now. If the human passes the trials, you will accept him. You will show him respect. And if I ever hear you speak against my judgment again, I will tear out your throat myself. Korath bowed his head slightly. Of course, Your Majesty. If he passes, the lords filed out of the great hall, their expressions satisfied. They were certain Teho would fail. They were certain he would die. When the hall was empty, the queen descended from her throne. She walked to Teho and looked at him with tired eyes. I am sorry, she said. I tried to give you more time. It does not matter, Teho replied. 3 days or 1 night. The result will be the same. You sound confident. I sound realistic. I know what I am. An old soldier with bad knees and gray hair. I am not going to win any test of strength against your warriors. Then how do you expect to survive? Teho smiled slightly. The trials test strength, wisdom, and sacrifice. You said so yourself. I may fail the first, but I have spent my life learning the other two. The queen studied him for a long moment. You continue to surprise me, human. Mother, Rena said quietly. Can I show Taeho his room? He needs to rest. Valeth nodded. Go, but stay inside the palace. It is not safe outside tonight. Rena took Taeho's hand and led him through the winding corridors. Her small fingers felt warm against his palm. The bond between them pulsed with her emotions, worry, determination, and something that felt almost like love. You are scared, she said without looking at him. Yes, Taeho admitted. But fear is not weakness. Fear is what keeps us alive. Will you really die tomorrow? Maybe, maybe not. I have survived many things that should have killed me. They reached a small room with a simple bed and a window overlooking the snowy mountains. Rena stood in the doorway, her white fur glowing in the moonlight. I do not want you to die, she said. You are the first person who made me feel safe since my father passed away. Taeho knelt down to meet her eyes. I cannot promise I will survive, but I can promise I will fight. For you. For the chance to be part of your family. That is worth dying for. Rena hugged him tightly. Then fight well, Taeho. Fight well, and come back to me. She left, and Taeho was alone. He sat on the bed and looked out at the 3 moons rising over Thornval. Tomorrow, he would face trials designed to kill him. Tomorrow, he would fight for a place in a world that did not want him. But tonight, he would rest. And he would remember why he was fighting. For a little girl with white fur and golden eyes. For the child who called him safe. For his daughter in all but blood. The sun rose red over Thornval. The cold air bit at Taeho's skin as he walked into the arena. 10,000 Velthari filled the stone seats around him. Their golden eyes watching his every step. He had never felt so alone. The arena was a circular pit carved into the heart of a mountain. The floor was hard-packed dirt stained with old blood. 3 tall pillars stood at the center, each one marked with a different symbol, a claw for strength, an eye for wisdom, and a heart for sacrifice. Queen Valeth sat in the royal box above the arena. Rena was beside her, gripping the railing with her small claws. Taeho could feel her fear through their bond. He sent back what calm he could manage. Lord Korath stood at the edge of the arena, his black fur gleaming in the morning light. He smiled when he saw Taeho enter. Welcome, human, he announced loudly. Welcome to your death. The crowd laughed. The trial of strength begins now. Korath continued. You will face one of our finest young warriors in single combat. No weapons. No armor. Only your body against his. A gate opened, and a massive Velthari warrior walked into the arena. He was young and muscular, with brown fur and scars across his chest. His name was Dren, and he had won every fighting competition in the Empire for the past 3 years. Taeho looked at his opponent. Dren was twice his size, 3 times his strength, and 50 years younger. There was no way to win this fight fairly, so Taeho would not fight fairly. Begin, Korath shouted. Dren charged forward with a roar. His claws slashed through the air where Taeho's head had been a moment before. But the old soldier had already moved, stepping to the side with the smooth grace of decades of training. Taeho could not match the warrior's strength. But he had something else. Experience. Dren attacked again and again. Each time, Taeho dodged or deflected, never meeting force with force. He studied his opponent's movements, looking for patterns, weaknesses, anything he could use. The crowd grew restless. They wanted blood. They wanted a kill. Fight him, human, someone shouted. Stop running. Taeho ignored them. He continued to move, to watch, to wait. Then Dren made a mistake. He overextended on a lunge, leaving his right side exposed. Taeho saw the opening and took it. He swept the warrior's legs out from under him and drove his elbow into Dren's throat as he fell. Dren hit the ground hard, gasping for air. Taeho stepped back immediately. He could have followed up with a killing blow, but he chose not to. The arena fell silent. Dren slowly got to his feet, rubbing his throat. His eyes were wide with shock. No one had ever knocked him down before. Lucky, he growled. That was lucky. He attacked again, faster this time, more careful. Taeho dodged the first 2 strikes but caught the third across his ribs. Pain exploded through his body as the warrior's claws tore through his shirt and into his flesh. Taeho stumbled. Blood ran down his side. The crowd cheered. Dren pressed his advantage, raining blows on the injured human. Taeho blocked what he could, but each impact sent fresh waves of pain through his body. His old bones were not built for this kind of punishment. Finally, a powerful kick caught him in the chest. He flew backward and hit the ground hard. The breath rushed out of his lungs. He tried to stand, but his body refused. Dren walked over and placed his foot on Taeho's chest. "Yield," he demanded. "Yield, and die quickly." Taeho looked up at the royal box. Rena was crying, her white fur wet with tears. He could feel her despair through their bond. "I yield," he said. The crowd erupted in cheers. Korath raised his arms in triumph. "The human has failed the trial of strength," he announced. "Let the trial of wisdom begin." Guards helped Taeho to his feet. A healer quickly bandaged his wounds, just enough to keep him alive for the next test. He was led to the pillar marked with the eye. An old Velthari female approached him. She was ancient, her gray fur thin, and her eyes clouded with age. But when she spoke, her voice was sharp and clear. "I am the keeper of questions," she said. "I will ask you 3 riddles. Answer correctly, and you pass. Answer wrong, and you fail. Think carefully, human. These riddles have broken wiser minds than yours." Taeho nodded. His ribs screamed with pain, but his mind was clear. "First riddle," the keeper said. "I am born in fire but live in cold. I shine brightest when I am oldest. I am sought by all but held by few. What am I?" Taeho thought carefully. Fire and cold. Brightness with age. Sought but rarely held. Wisdom, he answered. Wisdom is forged through hardship, grows stronger with age, and is desired by many but truly possessed by few. The keeper's eyes widened slightly. "Correct. Second riddle. I have no voice, but I speak to thousands. I have no feet, but I travel across worlds. I can heal wounds and start wars with equal ease. What am I?" Again, Taeho considered. "No voice but speaks. No feet but travels, heals and harms. Words," he said. "Or perhaps stories. They spread without moving, influence without speaking, and can bring peace or destruction, depending on how they are used." The keeper nodded slowly. "Also correct. Final riddle. Human. This one has defeated every challenger for 300 years. Listen well." She leaned closer, her clouded eyes fixed on his face. "What does a mother wolf give her cub that costs everything but is given freely?" Taeho closed his eyes. The arena was silent. 10,000 Velthari waited for his answer. He thought about his own life, about the soldiers he had saved and the ones he had lost, about the wars he had fought and the peace he had found, about a little girl with white fur who called him safe. "Love," he said softly. "A mother's love costs everything: her time, her energy, her freedom, sometimes her life. But she gives it freely, without expecting anything in return, because that is what mothers do." The keeper stared at him for a long moment. Then, slowly, she smiled. "Correct. The human passes the trial of wisdom." The crowd murmured in surprise. Even Korath looked shocked. "One trial remains," the queen announced from her box. "The trial of sacrifice. Begin." Taeho was led to the pillar marked with the heart. A priest in red robes approached him, carrying a ceremonial knife. "The trial of sacrifice is simple," the priest said. "You must prove that you would give everything for those you protect. The test is this. You will receive a wound. A deep wound. If you cry out in pain, you fail. If you remain silent, you pass." Taeho understood. Physical pain was nothing new to him. He had been shot, stabbed, burned, and broken over his long career. He knew how to endure. "I am ready," he said. The priest raised the knife. "This wound will not be on you, human." Taeho blinked. "What?" The gate opened again. Two guards walked out, holding someone between them. Rena. The princess was crying, struggling against the guards. Taeho! Taeho, help me! The trial of sacrifice tests your willingness to suffer for others, the priest explained. But true sacrifice is watching those you love suffer, while you stand helpless. Can you endure seeing your bonded one in pain? Can you trust that her pain serves a greater purpose? Taeho's blood ran cold. You cannot hurt her. She is the princess. A small cut on her arm. Nothing permanent. But if you cry out, if you try to stop us, you fail the trial, and then you die. The priest walked toward Rena. She was so small. So frightened. Taeho could feel her terror through their bond. Overwhelming in its intensity, every instinct screamed at him to fight. To protect her. To save her. But if he failed, he would die. And then, who would protect her? Rena, he called out. Look at me. The princess turned her tear-streaked face toward him. I am here, he said. I am not leaving. Whatever happens, I am here. Be brave for me. Rena stopped crying. She straightened her small body and nodded. The priest made a small cut on her arm. She flinched but did not cry out. Blood ran down her white fur. Taeho watched. He did not move. He did not make a sound. But inside, his heart was being torn apart. After what felt like an eternity, the priest stepped back. The trial of sacrifice is complete. The human passes. The arena exploded with confused noise. Taeho had failed one trial and passed two. What did that mean? Queen Valeth stood in her box, her voice cutting through the chaos. By ancient law, a challenger must pass 2 of 3 trials to prove their worth. The human has done this. He has earned his place. She looked down at Taeho with something new in her golden eyes. Welcome to the pack, Monarch. The arena was chaos. 10,000 Velthari shouted and argued, their voices crashing together like waves against stone. Some cheered for the human who had survived. Others howled in protest. Lord Korath stood frozen, his black fur bristling with disbelief and rage. This cannot be, he roared. The law requires a true warrior, not some weak human who could not even win a simple fight. Queen Valeth descended from the royal box, her silver fur catching the morning light. Guards surrounded her as she walked onto the arena floor. The crowd slowly fell silent. The law is clear, Korath, she said. 2 trials passed. The human has earned his place. Will you challenge the laws of our ancestors? Korath's claws flexed at his sides. For a moment, it seemed he might attack. Then he stepped back, his head bowed in forced submission. No, Your Majesty, I will not challenge the law. His golden eyes found Taeho. But the pack will never accept him. He may wear the title, but he will never be one of us. He turned and walked out of the arena, his followers close behind. The queen watched him go, then turned to Taeho. Can you stand? I can manage. His ribs burned with every breath, but he forced himself upright. Blood still seeped through his bandages. Good. There is one more ceremony to complete. The declaration. Rena ran across the arena floor and threw herself into Taeho's arms. He caught her despite the pain, holding her close. Her white fur was soft against his face, and he could feel her heart beating fast. You did it, she whispered. You survived. I promised I would fight, he replied. I keep my promises. The queen led them to a raised platform at the center of the arena. Taeho climbed the steps slowly, Rena's hand in his. The crowd watched in tense silence. The declaration is an ancient ceremony, Valeth explained. When a monarch is chosen, the royal they protect must speak their acceptance before the pack. It makes the bond official, permanent. She looked at her daughter. Rena, do you understand what you must do? The princess nodded. She turned to face the thousands of Velthari watching from the stands. Her small body trembled, but her voice was clear and strong. I am Princess Rena, daughter of Queen Valeth, heir to the throne of 12 worlds. I speak now to declare my bond. The crowd leaned forward, hanging on every word. This human saved my life. He gave me his blood when I was dying. He faced the trials when our people demanded his death. He passed the tests of wisdom and sacrifice, proving his worth not through strength but through courage and love. Rena turned to Taeho. Tears rolled down her white fur, but she smiled. I, Princess Rena, declare this human to be my monarch, my guardian, my protector. She took a deep breath. And my father. Gasps rippled through the arena. Even the queen looked surprised. He is not just my monarch, Rena continued. He is my family, my pack. From this day forward, his blood is my blood. His honor is my honor. Anyone who threatens him, threatens me. She turned back to the crowd, her golden eyes blazing with determination that seemed impossible for one so young. This is my declaration. This is my choice. Will the pack accept it? Silence. No one moved. No one breathed. Then, slowly, a single Velthari in the crowd stood. It was an old female, with gray fur and kind eyes. She bowed her head toward Taeho. I accept, she said. Another Velthari stood. A young male with brown fur. I accept. More stood. Then, more. One by one. Then in groups, Velthari rose from their seats and bowed their heads. The acceptance spread like fire through dry grass, moving from one section to another until nearly the entire arena was standing. Not everyone. Some remained seated, their faces hard with hate. Korath's supporters. But they were the minority now. Queen Valeth stepped forward. She looked at Taeho with an expression he had never seen before. Respect, gratitude, and something that might have been affection. The pack has spoken, she announced. The declaration is accepted. From this day forward, the human known as Taeho holds the title of monarch to Princess Rena. He is the first of his kind to earn this honor. Let his name be remembered. She did something no one expected. She bowed her head to him. Welcome to our family, Taeho. The crowd erupted in cheers. Not all of them, but enough. Enough to drown out the angry voices. Enough to signal a new beginning. Taeho stood on the platform, overwhelmed. He had come to this world expecting to die. Instead, he had gained something he had never thought possible. A daughter, a family, a home. The ceremonies that followed were a blur of rituals and traditions. Taeho was given new clothes, black and silver robes that marked his position. A golden collar was placed around his neck, matching Rena's. He was introduced to advisors, priests, and nobles who had accepted his place. By the time night fell, he was exhausted. His wounds had been properly treated by royal healers. But his body was broken and tired. He sat in his new quarters, a large room in the royal wing of the palace, and stared out the window at the 3 moons. A knock came at his door. Enter, he said. Queen Valeth walked in alone. She wore a simple dress instead of her armor, and her silver fur was slightly wet, as if she had just bathed. She looked younger somehow. Less like a queen, and more like a mother. May I sit? She asked. Taeho nodded. She took a chair near the window. I came to thank you, she said. Not as a queen, as a mother. There is no need. There is every need. She looked at him with tired eyes. Rena's father died 2 years ago. He was killed in battle against pirates, who attacked one of our outer worlds. Since then, she has been lost. Angry, afraid. I did not know how to help her. Valeth's voice softened. When she came back from your cabin, there was something different about her. A piece I had not seen in years. You gave her that. Taeho thought about the little princess. She is a good child, strong, brave. She just needed someone to remind her of that. You reminded her of what it feels like to be protected, to be loved by a father. The queen smiled sadly. I am a warrior queen. I know how to fight wars and rule empires, but I was never good at being soft, at being gentle. You gave her something I could not. Every parent has different strengths. Perhaps. Valeth stood and walked to the window. Our people will not accept you easily. Korath and his supporters will make your life difficult. There will be challenges, threats, perhaps even attempts on your life. I expected as much. But you stayed anyway. Why? Teho considered the question. Because when I looked at Rena in that crashed ship, I saw something. Hope. A future worth protecting. I have spent my life fighting other people's wars. Now, finally, I have found something worth fighting for myself. The queen turned to face him. You are a strange human, Teho. I have been told that before. She laughed softly. Get some rest. Tomorrow, your new life begins. She walked to the door, then paused. Rena wants to see you before she sleeps. May I send her? Of course. A few minutes later, the princess appeared at his door. She was wearing a sleeping gown, and her white fur was fluffy from being brushed. She looked like a small cloud with golden eyes. Can I stay with you tonight? She asked. I had bad dreams last night. About the crash. Teho opened his arms. Come here. She ran to him and climbed onto his lap. He held her gently, careful of his bandaged ribs. Thank you, she whispered. For being my father. Teho felt something warm spread through his chest. Not pain. Something else. Something he had not felt in a very long time. Love. Thank you for choosing me, he said. They sat together in the moonlight, a human veteran and a wolf princess. Outside the window, the first snow of the season began to fall, covering Thornval in white. Somewhere in the galaxy, wars still raged and empires still crumbled. But in this room, in this moment, there was only peace, a father and his daughter, a family, against all odds, and a bond that would last forever.